Yo, what up, Amp? This is Snaps, a daily college football podcast that I hope you all really enjoy. If you're out there listening, I could also say what's up, YouTube, in the future, and what's up, anybody listening on podcasts. I am T-Bob Hebert, joined as always by the legend Aaron Murray, and we have a full weekend of college football to react to. What an incredible weekend it was, and it really speaks to the strength of the sport or how much we're into it. Because it really was a pretty shitty slate, and yet I still had so much fun watching football all weekend, and I have so many takes to spout off today. Aaron, I know you do as well. We're already disagreeing before the show. How we feeling today?
Feeling good, man. I'm with you. Like it was an awesome weekend, a lot of exciting football games, and the thought of that not being even close as good as it's going to get. Like that was just an appetizer. Like that was like the second course.
Yeah.
From week 0 to week 1, we got some teasers, some really good football. But it's interesting. The transfer portal, as we always thought, like the rich would get richer. I do think you're seeing more quality football teams out there because less teams are relying on having to have essentially freshmen come in there and possibly produce.
That's
Even
true.
like mid-tier teams
It's
can
true.
go into the portal and get more veteran guys that can come and play right away and fill certain holes. So I do think overall quality of football from lower tier to mid tier to obviously the best of the best is going to make more competitive games as we go into the season. I think we got a little bit of a taste of that this past weekend.
Yeah, let's be clear. College football, as we know it, is not dead and will not die. Now things are going to shift dramatically. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we'll have the Uber conference, we'll have NFL Light, but like, you're still going to have Wyoming, Texas Tech, right? If you want to be nerdy about it, like if you want to go that deep, if you care about it that much, you can still go watch Texas Tech fight for their life only to lose in Laramie on a 2-point conversion in the second overtime. It was fucking awesome. Wisconsin or Wyoming's end zones are so good. All right. Okay. On today's show, man. If Saturday we did kind of a full day recap. Today's show, we'll talk LSU, FSU. Was it more about LSU being bad, FSU being good? Question a lot of people are asking. We'll dive into Colorado because without a doubt, they are the story of week 1. As we try to discern, okay, how good do you think they are? Like, we know they're not bad, but where's the ceiling? How far is that adjusted? And then, Aaron, how much tape have you watched thus far? Because unfortunately, the Sunday game, I try to, and I'm gone all Saturday. I try to like really be there with the family on Sunday, and then I just got done in the morning. So like, I haven't gotten to watch any tape yet from this weekend.
I'm a neglectful father. I just watched college football weekend. So
yes, even on Sunday.
No, so like Sunday I spent with the kids. Like what I did last night was just I just destroyed film as I was watching the FSU LSU game. Like I probably got 4 or 5 games in watching that one. It's just so easy when I can put up the coach's copy on my iPad and just go real fast. So I got a few left, but I'm in a good spot.
So what the point of me saying all that is that Aaron's going to give us some tape takes today. Okay. So he will give you his view of guys like Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, JJ McCarthy. Were they as bad as some are saying? Were they better than some are saying? You'll have to wait to find out. And then we'll talk maybe a little bit of Clemson at the end. I think they're in a very interesting spot now. FSU, actually the ACC as a whole, kind of big dick in college football, but FSU especially last night saying,
ACC
hey, dog,
and the Pac-12.
What up?
What
yeah,
a weekend
and the Pac-12.
for both those conferences.
Yes.
Not the Big Ten, not the SEC. We were talking about the Pac-12 and the ACC after this weekend.
Yeah, God. See, now that's a little quirk. That's some good quirky college football right there. Anyway,
good stuff.
So we'll touch a little Clemson at the end. Right now, though, let's start with last night, the top 10 matchup, the game that we all thought was going to be incredible. And in the first half, looked like it was, 17-14 trading blows. And then Florida State came out there and said, haha, fuck this shit. We're done playing around. 31 unanswered for the Noles in the second half, and LSU quits. If the base question was this more about bad LSU or good FSU? First and foremost, let's be painfully clear about this. This is way more about Florida State being good. We told you coming into the season. I told you about the Pro Football Focus season preview recently, which had Jordan Travis winning the Heisman, Jared Verse winning the Nagurski, Mike Norvell winning Coach of the Year, top 10 O-line group, top 10 D-line group, top 10 receivers, top 10 secondary, best running back prospect in the NFL. Like, so we knew they were fucking loaded. And what you saw yesterday was a team that is loaded and coached very well. I thought Mike Norvell and his staff ran circles around Brian Kelly and company.
Yep. The only reason I had FSU out of my playoff spot is because I thought they won. Honestly, they would lose last night, and then they would lose one to Clemson. You know, like I talked about, possibly that first one to Clemson, then they get revenge. They still win the ACC, but an 11-2 team wasn't going to be able to get into the playoffs. But now the fact that they beat LSU, had that huge resume builder as the number 5 team in the country. We talked about like one team was essentially going to be knocked out of the playoff race last night. It looked like LSU. Doesn't look like it is LSU at the moment, especially the fact that they have to go through the SEC West. Even if they win it, then they got to beat Georgia and Atlanta. So LSU, T-Bob, sorry, doesn't look like the playoffs are going to happen this season, unfortunately for you guys. But FSU, with their schedule, they should be everyone's favorite coming out of the ACC, or one of the best teams could be in the Final Four. So I agree with you. Like, this to me is more of FSU flexing their muscles, Jordan Travis flexing their muscles, Norvell demonstrating what you can do in the portal. I mean, what were the 2 biggest wins this weekend? Colorado, who completely transformed their football team through the portal, and Mike Norvell, who kicked ass in the portal too. And listen, Brian Kelly did, and he brought some guys in, but not to the extent that Florida State did. Florida State brought in some dogs on that football team. Keon Coleman, dude, we told an absolute stud. Jaheim Bell obviously made some big time catches.
Keon Coleman, and even Jaheim Bell, when they just Jake was kind of flabbergasted by the show this morning. They put him in the backfield for these 2 back looks, and LSU just couldn't. They didn't know what to do. It broke their brain. No, Keon Coleman though, Aaron, an Opelousas, Louisiana native, didn't get offered by LSU out of high school. Goes to Michigan State, becomes their lead receiver. Enters the portal. Didn't get offered by LSU in the portal. Why? Because LSU already thought they had all the receivers. Keon Coleman took that shit personally, said, nah, fam, 9 catches, 122 yards, 3 scores. There's a really good article from Ross Dellinger talking to his mother at the stadium, and she was crying like tears of joy, but so much of it was about like the hometown team just constantly told him no, and he finally got to square up with him, and he taught him a fucking lesson. And that's a storyline. I don't care who you cheer for. Like, that's like an easy human storyline to get behind and to celebrate.
I also don't want to freak out on LSU either. Like, I don't want to just all of a sudden say, oh, LSU isn't good enough to win the West. I mean, if they play like they did last night, then yes, their chances of beating A&M and Ole Miss and obviously Alabama going to Tuscaloosa significantly go down. But this is still a really good football team. Jane Daniels is a very good quarterback. The receivers are very talented. I think there's some issues obviously on the back end. You got to find a way to get Harold Perkins playing more like Harold Perkins last year. Right. And I actually have LSU this weekend, so I'm really interested to talk to the staff about it this week, about what can you do to get Harold Perkins playing fast. You get Mason Smith back going forward. So LSU is going to be in the thick of it to win the SEC West still. So I know there's a bunch of LSU fans all of a sudden freaking out saying that, we're going to go backwards and we're going to be an 8-4 team this year. This is still my favorite to win the SEC West.
8-4 is an overreaction. I think they feel like a 9-3 team, which is good. You get to 10 wins of the bowl game. And 9-3 puts you in the thick of it, right? Like, if you just change one of those games, then all of a sudden you can win the West if you manage to go 10-2. But they feel like a 9-3 team to me. I think the problem is that the expectation LSU fans had been sold and bought into was that they were a championship level team. Yep. Florida State looked like a champion, and like we talked about with Georgia, right? Like, when I nitpick or criticize Georgia, these are critiques that for other teams we would be praising them if they did these same things. But when your bar for expectation is so high, little things take on larger importance, right? And so 9-3 for a lot of teams would be freaking awesome. But when we spend all offseason talking about how LSU should be favored to win the West, we think they're a legitimate playoff up. Jay Daniels a legitimate Heisman candidate, and then what happens last night happens. That's obviously going to be sorely disappointing. But again, this is not about LSU. This is more about FSU.
Well, I think you also said something too. This was months ago when we were kind of previewing LSU at times, and I think you had the feeling a lot of LSU fans did as well of everything is there for you. If not this year, then when was kind of what you were thinking. You got the quarterback,
like lining up. Yeah.
You got the receivers, you got the offensive line, you got the linebacker and the defensive tackle, and the majority of the secondary is an issue. But the first two levels are going to be really dominant, especially when Mason Smith comes back. So the Wingo was phenomenal last night.
Yeah,
so
great.
The big talk was, if not this year, when? I still am a believer in Brian Kelly. Like, he got outcoached last night. He did. He got outcoached last night. It happens. The best still get outcoached from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe this program is on the right trajectory going forward with him as head coach.
I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, look, nobody's trying to burn it all down, but it was surprising, I would say, to enter this game, and we knew the secondary against the FSU weapons was the obvious weakness, and well, lo and behold, it was the only advantage on paper to be found, and it ended up being like the main difference in the game statistically, as Keon Coleman, we mentioned him, 9 catches, 122, 3 tuds. Johnny Wilson, 7 catches for 104 yards. But I think where I was dead wrong, because I think a lot of my concerns pre this game were validated. I felt like LSU fans didn't believe in Florida State. I felt like every reason I had to think that Jaden Daniels improved, Jordan Travis had as well, only he actually had like a better foundation upon which to build that improvement. So like, the only thing that I feel like I was dead wrong on here was I thought if all things were relatively equal, that it would be the Brian Kelly element that would have tipped the scales in LSU's favor. And instead, it was the complete inverse. Mike Norvell tipped the scales in FSU's favor. And to me, how do you have two teams that when you look at the box score, the stats are relatively even, right? But the score is not. How does that happen? Situational football. Yep. Situational football goes directly to coaching. And I look at third down. The third down statistic is an excellent way to judge who's out scheming, who's executing at a higher level, who's making the plays when it matters most. LSU, 3 of 10 on third down, 0 of 3 on fourth down. FSU, 9 of 14 on third down, 1 of 1 on fourth down. And we're talking some long third down conversions as well. Yep. And you know what else was an interesting thing that developed over this weekend, Aaron? These games go fast now. Now, you wouldn't know it because there's a million fucking commercial breaks. You just imagine this. They just sold more commercials. Who would have guessed? But these games go fast now, and possessions are even more precious than they were before. So when you go to the red zone twice and you don't get out of fourth down and turn 2 turnovers downs, fumble punt, like that's just losing bad coached football. Whereas Florida State was nearly perfect when they had to be.
Yeah. And it goes to time of possession too. And I'm not as big on time of possession as maybe 10 years ago, because a lot of these offenses are so up tempo and they can score so fast where it's not a big deal. But when you couple that with the third down inefficiencies, Florida State had the ball for 35 minutes compared to LSU's 25 minutes. Yeah. 10 more minutes of possession time in that football game. Yeah, they just beat that. Well, I think you started the show off by saying like LSU quit in the fourth quarter. They started getting just FSU was feeling it. They were low in the shoulder, and LSU was just taking it like a little bitch.
Yeah, I hate it.
They just said whatever. I mean, that was like, to me, that was, I wouldn't think second year with Brian Kelly, I was going to see a team like LSU quit in the second half.
Yeah.
In the first game of the season. But I felt like I saw a team quit in the first game of the season.
And that's, I think that's where LSU fans are so fired up today, is second half adjustments. Now the halftime speech is a bit of a myth, but second half adjustments are not, right? Like in-game adjustments are not. And that's yet another very objectively clear reason that Norvell and his staff dominated Kelly and his, is that you came at a half. And last year was the opposite. Last year, LSU came at a half and looked way stronger. Matt House figured out how to stop Jordan Travis. I think they were like 9 and 10 in the first half last year, and then like 1 of 7 maybe on third down. This year, not the case. LSU came out and it just looked like, I mean, and it's so funny because the second half was so astronomically dominant for Florida State that you forget that LSU actually battled back to somehow have a lead at half, despite all the bad. And Florida State wasn't, but Florida State wasn't phased. They said, fuck it, we're moving the ball. Like, we're fine. Like, we are fine. They're kind of getting lucky. And, well, they went out and proved as they bullied 31 unanswered for the Seminoles. Flexing in Camping World Stadium in front of the home crowd, 31 unanswered, saying, fuck you, SEC. Fuck you, LSU. We're taking this. This is our year. FSU officially back.
Have you seen their schedule too for Florida State going forward? Southern Miss, Boston College. I mean, you're at Clemson. That's the big doozy. Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Wake Forest, Pitt, Miami, North Alabama, Florida.
Yeah. I mean, bro, they're gonna win. They're gonna.
The only team that could beat is Clemson. That could personnel for personnel. It's now if Florida State, can they handle the expectations? Because after this weekend, I would not be surprised if they're a top 5 team in America. Expectations are going to be sky high. Can they handle those expectations is going to be the key.
But you know who can handle expectations? First off, badly coached teams. And I'll say that I feel like the last year and a half or year, maybe whatever you want to call it, wherever you want to start, like I feel like I'll give Mike Norvell credit there, but maybe even more importantly, teams that can't handle expectations are generally young and generally lack in leadership. Now they got a lot of talent, so maybe they luck into some big win, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, this team should be so good. But this team is neither young nor do they lack in leadership. Like, Jordan Travis
line is all 22 to 24 years old.
Exactly. They're all juniors, seniors. And that's really extends to the entire team pretty much. And so, no. This is a team where last night just was their coming out party. This team is not about to take anybody lightly and trip up against anyone. I really believe that in my soul. So credit FSU, man. This was I know Colorado's statement is the headline of the weekend, and it should be, but in a lot of ways, this was just as much of a statement weekend, if not more, for FSU football. Officially stamping their passport as being back. Certified back, Florida State.
100%. Chop, 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 chop.
I will say this. I am going to be filing litigation against Matt House, though, the LSU defensive coordinator, as Harold Perkins dropped into coverage 28 times last night and rushed the passer 7. That is football malpractice. And this is what I don't understand. These coaches are going to forget more football than I'll ever know. I'm just some chubby college lineman that wants to make dick jokes and spout sports takes. I'm just trying to elicit a couple chuckles. How the fuck do you ever go through an entire football camp where I've now the only film I have watched is some of Perkins dropping into coverage. He was awful in coverage. How are you going to convince me that you went through an entire camp and thought that was the best way to use that man? That's football malpractice. Like what I'm saying. When you know that much football, how is that possible, Aaron Murray?
I'm with you. I mind blown that you're going to take the best player on the field and put him in a position where he feels like a robot and not an athlete.
Crazy.
I think Brum said this before our show last night, and then someone else in the chat said it as well. He's Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Built like him, looks like him. What does he do? Rushes the passer, see ball, go get ball. That's Harold Perkins 2.0. Go be Micah. Just attack. Don't think, just go. And last night you saw a guy that was thinking, trying to play perfect because he wants to put the tape on for the coaches to show them that, hey, I've taken all the training that I've done over the spring and summer and fall camp, and I can truly be a linebacker. Well, maybe you can. But right now, when you're just trying to win football games, you be the best player you can be, which is being outside rushing the damn quarterback.
But here's the problem. Linebackers don't even get paid like pass rushers.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing?
Why he wants to be
why do you want to be on the inside? Make your life easy. Just go attack. Okay, that's it. Let's move on to Colorado, who, again, they are the story of the weekend. The Colorado Buffaloes, Coach Prime. We talked about it a ton on Saturday. Obviously, Coach Prime can coach. If anybody thought that he couldn't, he can motivate. They appear to have not one, but 2 legitimate Heisman candidates. Again, I think what blew me and Aaron away more than anything was probably the Well, three things. First, the quality of Shedeur Sanders, which we're really about to dive into. The just otherworldly nature of Travis Hunter, but then maybe most of all, most impressively, for putting together this team in about 6 months, the execution and discipline in nearly every phase of the game for that Colorado Buffalo team just speaks to Prime's ability to coach. That said, Aaron, you beat a TCU team that some are unsure about how they'll be. I think TCU's going to be fine. Not like win the Big 12 or anything, but I think they're not going to be bad. They're still a pretty good team. How good is Colorado really? That's the question now, right? Like, are they on the level of a USC, Oregon? Oregon State looked really good this weekend. Are they more middle of the pack? How do you feel about this Colorado Buffaloes team?
I think they're still more middle of the pack. I think we'll learn a little bit more about them this weekend, because I think the question is still going to be, for me, the physicality in which they can play. And I thought the offense line did a pretty good job this past weekend, but they faced a lot of drop 8. So I mean, for TCU was only rushing 3 the majority of the time. And you and I talked about it after Nebraska's game on Thursday night. The one thing that did impress us both was the way in which Nebraska's defense played. And starting with the front 4, they got after the quarterback. Yeah. They stopped the run. So if I do want to consider Colorado a contender to maybe upset a USC or an Oregon or an Oregon State or a Washington, because I still don't know if they have all the pieces to win the conference, but can they at least upset one, if not two of those teams? I think the question still needs to be answered. Can they dominate at the line of scrimmage? And I think this is the perfect test this week. And if they go out there and have a game in which the offense line does hold up versus Nebraska, because they check off all the other boxes, like quarterback elite. And I think Colin had a great post about this today where he hit up a couple of NFL execs asking about Shedeur, and they said, yeah, this guy has everything you want to be a potential first-round quarterback. So you
like, we're not crazy. What everything we said,
we're not
Saturday,
crazy.
The accuracy,
NFL scouts said this.
Legit.
Yeah. The movement, the touch on the football. So you got a really good quarterback. You have really good receivers. You have a pretty good secondary. You have a corner that can shut off half the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's stopping the run, which they struggle with at times. Mm-hmm. And can they protect against a more dominant defensive line that's going to show you a little bit more 4 down and not as much, just rushing 3, dropping 8.
Yeah. So
that's the final piece that if they get answered this weekend, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, they may be able to compete with some of those bigger boys.
It's so we're feeling pretty similar than here, Aaron, because I too was like, I don't know if I can yet just say that I expect him to be on like the USC, Oregon State level, but credit to them, I do feel like I'd take them over Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, Arizona.
They're a bowl team.
UCLA look pretty good. Yeah,
team.
They're bowl team.
They're going bowling.
So, but Shedeur Sanders is the X factor here. He is so good and looked so dominant in his decision-making and accuracy on Saturday, his ability to manipulate the pocket, everything we talked about. Mm-hmm. When you have a first-round talent at that position, you could do astronomical things. I mean, it's the most important position on the football field. A quarterback can be a force multiplier of good, right? Where like the quarterback getting 2 times better makes the team 3 times better or 4 times better. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not shutting the door on them not breaking into that top tier. Like, I think maybe they are. They might be that good because from where I sit, you have a quarterback that is as good as any in the country. You have weapons that are solid enough, and he's going to know how to take advantage of those weapons. And I think you have an O-line that can protect them. So I'm kind of with you. That is the hang up there. How will the O-line be? And the defense will probably lose you a game. I'm giving the defense a little bit of free pass because that was a hot game on Saturday, long game. They were okay early on. They kind of wore down by the end. But Shedeur Sanders changes everything. Yep. And then obviously Travis Hunter, but mainly because he plays quarterback. Like, Shedeur Sanders actually makes you relevant to potentially just be among those best teams. Like you said, knock off one of those best teams.
Travis Hunter doesn't need to practice. I mean, I guess you maybe practice a little bit just to keep up some sort of conditioning, but you keep him healthy and he's just going to walk through. Like he is someone that I don't even know if he needs to practice. He's just that good. He's just that good. He needs to work on the jugs a little bit. Hands were a little bit questionable at times. Got a couple drops. The interception should have had 2 picks. but he's someone that you just say,
yeah. But he also did.
well, this goes to what we talked about earlier. When you're that elite,
he
when you're
goes
that
and
elite,
bosses that guy. Yeah, I guess you're right.
But when you're that elite, we could be a little bit nitpicky, just a little bit nitpicky, just a little bit. We can't crown him god of college football just yet after one game. So we have to kind of knock him down a little bit, make sure he stays humble heading into the rest of the season. They're a team where you look at their schedule, they should be 3-0. They should beat Nebraska. Mm-hmm. They should beat Colorado State, and they get them both at home. That place is going to be bonkers. When's the last time that we've seen Boulder, Colorado on a Saturday, big noon kickoff, and that place is going to be shaking?
I don't think I've ever.
Ever.
Because when Colorado would have been good, Aaron, when we were like 1-2 years old. Yeah. So no, I don't think I've ever seen it in our lifetime, at least. 34 now. Prime. You know who
I see 7.
You think Prime wants to do? Should LSU fire Brian Kelly and hire Prime? I mean, it's people are talking to.
The only part he ain't going to leave after this year because Travis can't leave. And what is Shadir? Shadir's what year?
It's junior, right? He's played 2 years at Jackson State.
So depending on the NFL draft, I think he's a first round talent, so I think but he ain't going to leave Travis high and dry. And Travis already used his one free pass.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, I'm joking. I think Deion may chill at Colorado for a bit, right? I mean, he seems to actually.
Well, if they're the best, he may be the best team in the Big 12 heading into next season.
How it looks today, building next year, true.
Heading next year because he's gonna re-up that football team. Well, he's gonna get a lot of first picks in the portal. They're gonna put together a better recruiting class going forward.
You know what they're not getting enough credit for, and it's a bit interesting, and maybe this is a bit out of line for me, but the Tom Luganville take about them maybe having the worst lines in the country, right? When he texted you about that take, and that's what I'm saying it's out of line because I am bringing a personal message a bit on there. But when he texted you about the line, one of his critiques was like, they're taking guys from like Maine and UMass, like naming all these small schools, right? Being like, yeah, they got guys, but look at like they're getting guys from all these other schools. Their scout, if that O-line proves to be as solid as it looks Saturday, that and then it kind of extends the rest of the team, that scouting department deserves a lot of credit. Because they took guys that other people had undervalued, not seen the talent in, and then are now getting the most out of them. And the one thing that Deion didn't really have thus far in Colorado was the traditional recruiting was not really hitting. Like according to all the recruiting guys, it was one of the big disappointments. Well, that's going to start hitting immediately. Travis Hunter, I just read, gained 75,000 followers on Instagram over the weekend.
Did you see ETN, the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, tweet at his brother, running back for Florida, maybe you should go look at transferring to Colorado?
Wow.
Yeah. How about that shit? Like, how disrespectful is that?
I did see a meme. I can't remember.
When you got guys in the NFL saying, hey, maybe you should go check out Prime. Like the amount of juice that coach is bringing, which is why I said
and Napier at this point is like the inverse Prime. No juice for Nape.
I think Hugh Freeze at Auburn is going to do his thing, but I still think there's some Auburn fans.
Fucking need to let go of Prime to Auburn. It's an awful thing compared to Freeze at Auburn. It would work. I'm not saying it wouldn't work.
It would have kicked ass.
Yes, of course it would.
He'd work anywhere.
Whatever.
Who would you take right now? If you're Auburn, if you had to hit redo right now, who are you taking as head coach?
Auburn's taking Hugh Freeze 10 out of 10 times. Bro, they love Hugh Freeze.
Who are you taking right now if you had to pick?
I would take Prime. I would take Prime, but that's not, it still doesn't change it to me, but I'm not Auburn. Like I can't even put myself in Auburn's headspace. They're fucking weird, man. We talk about it all the time. They're zealots. They have a belief that you cannot stomp out, and Hugh Freeze is the perfect person to lead that army of believers.
Where are you putting Prime right now? I'm not putting him on like the GOAT. I'm not talking about championships or him versus Saban or Kirby, but on the list of coaches, if you're building a team, Is he a top 5 coach that you want on your football team right now? Or are we just blowing this up after one win too much?
I mean, I don't want to be. Well, it's not just 1 week though. That's the other thing they want to be clear about. And that's what Prime was basically talking about. Everybody's fucking hand waving away. He was dominant at Jackson State, like dominant. And they think it's just because he had advantages that other coaches didn't have. No, it's because he can coach fucking football.
Yeah,
and he can motivate. So I don't know. Top 10. Moving towards the top 5, like by season's end, I guess is where I'd probably land. But it was as impressive as a week 1 in the Power 5 as you could have possibly had for Deion and company. And it was all electric, dude. The post-game interviews, actually, what I did want to correct though? No love for Shiloh Sanders. Led the team in tackles. 10 tackles for Deion's other son. Fucking quarterbacks, man. It's all anybody wants to talk about. Quarterbacks. What do you think Shiloh's thinking? In the post-game interview, Deion saying, this is my son to Shadur, this is my other son to Travis Hunter. And Shiloh's like, what the fuck, man? I'm right here too.
10 total tackles. 10 total. That's all.
I was saying, hell of a night for the Sanders family, man. Hell of a day. Big noon kickoff. Shout out Fox. Hell of a big noon kickoff too. Right? I mean, good win for Fox last week.
Good win for Fox. Big L for CBS.
Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Rutgers Northwestern. Speaking of malpractice.
Well, they had Ohio State though. They had Ohio State.
Yeah, I know. And Gary Danielson just sounded so fucking sad. So fucking sad calling it. Speaking of malpractice, it's business malpractice. How everything went down with CBS and the SEC. Like, and granted, maybe it was always out of control because like ESPN and the SEC always wanted to be together because they were already together in so many different ways. But sheesh, feels like such a downgrade here early on. Even though, hey, SEC kind of sucks, do they?
No.
I mean, just the ACC. I don't know, dude. The ACC put it on him this weekend, dude. All right, let's get to some tape takes. Aaron Murray, like he said, has been diving into the film. We'll go through some of the big teams. I'll give you my surface level take, and then Aaron can give you the what his eyes reveal, because I think they're going to be at odds a lot of times. Because I'm more like the common man here who flips on and sees what's going on. It's like, this guy fucking sucks.
With one 2 beers, double fisted.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck, this guy's off. So with that in mind, to me, Texas looked more like Texas. I think Bama's going to dominate them this weekend.
Nope.
I think when you looked at the difference of size in player, like the difference of the quality of the player between Texas and Rice, the fact that was 10-3 that late in the second quarter boggles my mind. I do not think Quinn Ewers is that guy. And after week 1, I am feeling as good as ever about Texas being ass.
I'm actually about to send you a bet after this to give me Texas 2 bets. Give me the 7.5, and then I'm even going to get a little juicy too, and I'm going to put them on the money line. I think Texas is going to win the football game. I was watching the game Saturday as I was getting prepped in the booth for my game for Georgia, and then I went back and watched it last night just to kind of get a better feel of Quinn Ewers and his game. Dude, he was awesome. I thought he was really good. Like, the deep ball accuracy was a little bit problem at times. Like, he was, I think, 0 for 3, and they were just underthrown a little bit.
It wasn't a problem. He threw 1 out of bounds. 1 was underthrown. Like, it wasn't good, was it?
That's a problem that could be fixed. It's 3 throws. I think we look at the bad before we look at the good, and I thought the good was elite good. Like, his timing and anticipation. I think I tweeted this last night. There was 6 to 8 throws that the ball was out and the receiver wasn't even close to the top of the route. And I think one was actually kind of funny. It was a stick route from the tight end. I saw this one live. Hits the tight end right square in the damn helmet.
Yeah,
and you know what?
Tweet to make fun of Texas on Saturday.
You know what? Coach Andy Reid always told us in practice, hit those, he didn't say motherfuckers, but hit those dudes in the helmet. Because guess what? They're going to learn that they better be on your timing. And when you're ready to rip it, they better get to the top of their route and they better rip that head around.
Okay.
Because Quinn Ewers throws with timing and anticipation, and it was awesome to see. Deep outs, 12-yard comebacks, that stick right there. So he's teaching those guys, I'm going to hit my back step. I'm going to get my hitch. That ball's coming now. So you better be ready to go. So guys need to elevate their game to the way in which he plays the quarterback position. So I was highly impressed. Like I said, I walked away saying deep ball accuracy was the only glaring thing for me. He was just late. That was it. He was just late. Needs to take off one hitch and just let it. That was the only time he actually wasn't anticipating as well as I would have liked him to anticipate. But other than that, I was big time impressed with Quinn Ewers, in control of the football, doing his thing. Offensive line was a little soft at times. That was a little suspect going against an Alabama defense this weekend. That's going to be a little tough. But overall, like I said, I walked away saying I'm betting fucking Texas this weekend. Give me the 7.5.
I mean, look, there's no greater belief than the belief proven by a man's wallet. So this is not bullshit. Aaron is actually feeling him. Some Quinn Ewers. Yeah, look, I've not gotten to watch tape yet. I'll just say that every time I looked at the Texas game, Texas was fucking something up, and Rice looked like 12-year-olds compared to them. So we gonna see. You don't think so? Like,
no, I did.
Rice
did.
Rice looked so tiny. No names on the back of their jersey. Wait, what?
Yes. I said all these. I mean, Alabama versus Middle Tennessee. I mean, you weren't bitching when Alabama was only up 14 points midway through the second quarter.
Oh, duh! Because I've seen fucking Nick Saban win like 17 national championships. I've never even seen Sark win 10 games.
The best teams in America this weekend. It wasn't the smoothest of starts. No. I'll say that for a lot of them. It is what it is. First game of the season. You have to really look at that. To me, that's when the tape's more important than ever, because you got to see, like, was it all bad, or were there enough good to say, okay, we saw a lot of good stuff. It's week one. You got the win. Let's move on. And then look at the second half for Texas. They came out, scored 21 points there in the third quarter. So, like, a little bit of rocky start, which we saw all across the country. They were able to muster it up and just dominate in the second half. I think Texas is going to be fine this weekend.
That's fair. That's actually a great take. I'm probably guilty of putting too much on just what was a bad first impression from the Longhorns.
You already went into it fucking hating Texas anyway. So you were looking to reaffirm your hate of Texas. So as soon as you saw any flaw, you're like, let me jump on that like a hungry tiger.
Well, let's be clear. The bias sword cuts both ways. And you are also looking to reaffirm your Texas love, your Sark love, and your Quinn Ewers love. So this can all be true.
Very good point.
I just think that,
Touché.
I don't know. Texas is just soft, man. And look, I cheer for a soft team, so I would know. I cheer for the Paper Tigers. Next on the list, Alabama, who is interesting because, like you said, they kind of had a rocky start as well, but I don't care.
It wasn't really rocky. It was weird. Like, I mean, watching the tape, like they were playing really well. They just weren't scoring points. The least.
I don't have a great take on this Alabama game yet.
And this is one of the games where, like, even Ohio State, I'm watching and I'm like, man, they're moving the ball. The quarterback looks good at times. Same thing with Alabama. Same thing with Michigan. But I don't know if it's just because of the new rule changes. There's less possessions. Teams aren't just scoring as much or as fast as last year. I don't know. We'll continue to monitor that. But I will say this one thing. I mean, Jalen Milroe he's an elite athlete. There's no doubt about that. We knew that. But the fumble, pick up, and then run and score the touchdown, you're like, you know what's about looking like middle school kids? Middle Tennessee was bouncing off him like they're a bunch of sixth graders trying to tackle him. Like,
well, I mean, he'll do that to Texas as well, though, is the thing.
I don't know. Those guys were like scared as shit.
Look, I'll be because look, Texas defense was dominant in this game last year against Alabama. Like, they were great. They were Bryce Young's ass the entire game. I thought that Alabama was lucky to get out of Austin with a win last year. It was just Bryce Young finding ways to do Bryce Young things. But again, Alabama this year has this. So here's what it is. If you're going to have Jalen Milroe as your quarterback, your team as an identity just has to take on an identity of toughness, right?
Yep,
of punching people and winning fights with just, in the mud, fucking punching each other in the face. I don't think Texas likes that. I think Texas actually liked a bit better when Alabama was trying to be a bit more finesse and having a bit of Bryce Young. Like, I don't think Texas wants those fucking fists.
Well, we're going to find out this weekend. That's for sure.
Maybe Jalen Milroe's not that good, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think there were some moments where you talk about Jalen Milroe having some throws that were kind of suspect. Heading into the season, what do we say the concern with Jalen Milroe was? Turning the football over. He wasn't going to turn the ball over against Middle Tennessee, but he did last year. He did in the spring game. So all of a sudden, we're just going to say, "Oh my God, one game of him not throwing an interception, and he's cured against Middle Tennessee." I don't know if I can believe that yet.
No, but I would no. But okay, but how would you respond to this? Just play devil's advocate here. There's no way he's winning that starting job if he's turning over during camp.
Unless Ty Simpson just, I mean, Ty Simpson was,
Ty Simpson like really turns it over.
I was shocked, T-Bob. I'm watching it last night. And I had to text Cole Kubelik's on the, he was on the broadcast for the game. I didn't realize it, but Ty was the third quarterback to come in. Buckner came in second. I'm like, watch, I was like, okay, they're up. It's time to see Ty Simpson. And all of a sudden Buckner comes out. I'm like,
yeah.
And I asked Cole about that. I was like, what the hell? Why isn't Ty to? And he just hasn't grasped the full offense yet. And Buckner obviously has been in it a little bit more. He was going to be too. So I think more than anything, Ty Simpson to me from that alone kind of tells me that he just had a horrendous camp.
Who do you think Ty Simpson's going to be playing football for next year? Who would be in the market for a quarterback?
Auburn?
Maybe so. Maybe so. Hey, yeah. Auburn 2 quarterback system. How about it, dude?
Hey, Alabama. So back to tape. Isaiah Bond looked really good.
Okay.
Alabama's been missing that home run threat for a couple of years now. I thought he looked more confident, elite speed, which is still hard to judge when you're obviously going to be bigger, faster than the team you're playing in Middle Tennessee. But I thought he impressed me a ton in that football game, which was a good sign for them. But Jalen did what he needed to do. He ran the ball effectively. I thought he threw with actually some pretty good touch and anticipation. I just want to see him in a big game if he got over the issues that we saw him sparingly last year and what we saw in the spring game of throwing interceptions. Because that's going to get you beat fast.
And my only, and what a weird world that here I am in Alabama, but my only argument would be that Nick Saban would never hand the starting job over to the guy that's going to turn the ball over consistently. And if they truly just don't have a guy, I know. And that's what I'm saying. If that is it, then that's kind of crazy. But maybe you're probably right. All right. So after watching both tape of Bama and Texas, Aaron Murray is telling you he's taking the Texas money line. In fact, he's doubling up. He's going spread and money line.
I think they're definitely going to keep it within a touchdown. I think they're going to win, but I feel really confident they'll keep it within a touchdown. It's still on the road. It's still Alabama. So take that. But I do like if I will tell people, I would tell people to take the 7.5. I'm not telling you to take the money line. I am because I'm a Texas boy this year. So I'm going to do it until they prove me wrong. But I do think they're good enough to keep it within 7.5.
No, that's a good point because you have a lot of kind of previous evidence from which to draw about Texas going on the road and winning big games. Let's say there was I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little hungover. Hold on. No, there was that when was it?
Yeah, that game. Yeah.
There was that. It never happened, Aaron. Okay, finally. Brum's telling me to hurry up. Brum, want to college football, bro. What do you want me to do? Yeah. Give me a quick JJ McCarthy tape breakdown.
Woo! JJ.
Look good.
I texted our Mr. Buttman last night, Jake Butt. I'm like, where the hell was this last year? I know we saw a little bit at the end of the season, but not like this. He looked like a different quarterback throwing the football.
Okay.
Dagger routes. He ripped a corner about 30 yards on a rope. I'm like, I didn't know he had that in him. Like, we need to test this dude for some PEDs because, he looks like he gained about 10 miles per hour on that fastball this offseason.
Well, he was.
I was shocked
here or whatever. I don't know. Was he 19 years old? He's at that age, dude.
I thought Jake made a good comment. Sorry, Jake, if you don't want me saying this or not, but I'm going to say it anyways because I think it's good.
Yeah.
His limits last year were self-imposed. Imagine if you went to a game knowing you were going to hand it off 30 times and only throw it 14. They finally let him eat. He was eating last night. He was cooking. And once again, I know people are going to be Alabama played a crappy team. Texas played a crappy team. Michigan played a crappy team. I get it. But when you sit down and watch play by play and see how someone has progressed from a year before, you can just tell he got better throwing the football. His arm strength improved from last year. I don't care who Michigan was playing last season, he wasn't making that type of throw. And he did it over and over and over. Dagger routes, corner routes, post routes, go balls. I was blown away by JJ McCarthy. Blown away. Absolutely blown away by what he did in that football game. Should give Michigan fans a lot of confidence that you're going to win that game versus Ohio State. And you're probably going to win that first round playoff game. And then it's, can you finally win that natty?
Against who? Not Georgia. Not after what we saw Saturday. All right. Best quarterback out of those three that you saw this weekend?
JJ.
Okay, there you go. Shout out Michigan fans. All right, let's talk a little bit of Clemson to wrap here because it's immediately going to be, time sensitive because it's going to come out in the game's played in a couple hours. To me, the only thing here is Clemson, you're up, Florida State made a statement nationally last night, said we are coming for the ACC crown. And we've spent a lot of times being like, Clemson's kind of still the big dog maybe here. Well, we going to see because it's a pretty frisky Duke team. In fact, Aaron, if you look at it, Duke has the way better quarterback in tonight. If you just look at Klubnik's numbers last year versus Riley Leonard, it's not even close.
Yep. Not even close.
So the talent of Clemson overall and whatever impact Garrett Riley has is going to have to really show up tonight to convince me that they're as good as Florida State.
I'm 100% with you on that one. So I think it's a no-win situation for Clemson, unfortunately. You beat Duke, and people are like, oh, look at Duke's record last year. It's still Duke. I don't care. It's still the brand. No one is going to be impressed if they win tonight, but more people are going to be disappointed if it's close or if they lose.
Yeah.
It's a no-win situation, unfortunately, for the Tigers. But, all eyes are going to be on Klubnik. What improvements did you make from last year? What's this offense going to look like? Which they're going to have to. This is a good defense returning. This is a defensive-minded head coach. You just can't line up and play a base offense. So we're truly going to see, I would say, what this offense's identity is going to be this year. They're going to have to reveal that tonight in this football game if they're going to want to win. So I'm excited to see that. And then can't wait if Clemson does dominate to just get roasted on Twitter by a bunch of Clemson fans. But it's it's Duke. So who cares? It's Duke. If you're a Clemson fan and you're going to puff your chest at me because you beat Duke, then that's a problem.
I will say this for Clemson fans is using the law of transitive sports properties. There is a little hope out there that the coordinator was the problem last year, as you saw DJ Uiagalelei look awesome for Oregon State.
Good.
Go out there and just beat ass. The highest graded quarterback according to PFF in the nation. So all of a sudden, again, when we combine that with the comments of him in the offseason being like, look, I feel like I was never really put in a good position to succeed. Okay, well, that has more substance now. It's more legitimate now. So we're going to find out, Garrett Riley, what you got.
He still can't throw a spiral, but he looked pretty damn good.
Spirals are overrated. Just get it where it
they
needs
are.
to.
As the number 2 quarterback, greatest quarterback of all time, Peyton Manning, never threw spirals, can barely throw it more than 40 yards. Who cares?
But like Shedeur, he knew where to go and how to place it there. All right, that'll do it for today's snaps. Oh, so much fun, dude. Week 1, absolutely love it.
Football. We're talking football finally.
Football, baby. Oh, by the way, a couple things to housekeep here. Shout out everybody who joined us this weekend. Awesome weekend for the boys. We're trying to hit 4K on YouTube by the end of the week. So please
5K by end of the week.
5K by the end of the week. YouTube.com/@volumesnaps. Go subscribe. Also, we're nearing 100 reviews on Apple. So if you're on Apple, hit that review button. I got to check Spotify. That's on me. I apologize. But yeah, and then download amp, so you can listen to us live every day. We are doing a time change too. We're going to start being 1 Eastern, noon Central there-ish. For the most part. And as always, you just get it all on demand. A huge thank you to everyone at the Volume. A huge thank you to Pat Gunther, Ryan Brumley, Danny Cardenas, Chris Tran, Adam Gracia. Thank you, Aaron Murray. Thank you, football. And most of all, thank all of you who hang out and, listen to us and hang out with us, man. It's a ton of fun, and we can't wait to do more of it. Aaron's coming to Baton Rouge this week. I can't wait. All right, Aaron. I'll see you later, man. Y'all take it easy. We'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Snaps.